first plane crash on American airspace, I want to say, I think the last one was 2009, something like that. And so, you know, this is one of those things to me that's personally pretty spooky in that I flew into DC a week before. Now, I didn't fly into the same airport. I think I flew into Dulles. Dulles is the one that's an hour out. And then there's the Reagan, which is right in the city over the river. Now, what seems to have happened, I am no expert, okay? So take this with a grain of salt. I'm happy that I was not on that flight because I could have been, considering that I was just in DC a week ago. So that's crazy. And I've flown into that airport before. So what seems to have happened from all the people who are talking about this situation is there was a training of a military chopper coming up, and the airplane, the way you fly into Reagan is you kind of got to go at this angle over the river. An airplane usually can't see beneath it, and a chopper can't see above it. And what they told the chopper, and this is on, well, this part isn't on video, but you could see the crash. What they told the chopper was there's a RC, a regional jet, RJ, a regional jet coming, and they assumed it was the one taking off and not the one coming down. So air traffic control perhaps wasn't as clear in terms of how they could have been with regarding to the jet and which one they were looking for. Was it the regional jet that was taking off from Reagan, or was it the one that was coming in? Because they weren't clear, they looked to the right where they saw it taking off and not to the left where they saw this other American Airlines regional jet coming in. And so it's a terrible, terrible tragedy. Over 60 people killed. Now, in a situation like this, what's going to happen? You're going to instantly get people wanting answers, people blaming people. Who is it on in terms of this situation? Now, this is what I find interesting. The folks on the right are instantly blaming the quote-unquote DEI hires, which I guess go back a decade, and it's not something that's modern. It's something that's been happening, including under Trump's own administration last time around. So they're blaming the DEI hires and people with disabilities, which, again, that was apparently a program before. And the folks on the left are saying, well, wait a minute, just 8 days ago, there was all kinds of federal employees and TSA operators fired or let go or budget cuts. So which one is it? Is it bad training for DEI, hiring, and people that are incompetent for the job? Or is it people who are cutting budgets on federal programs with regards to making sure that our airspace is safe? Now, here's another layer to this. They just opened up more flights in and out of Reagan. Why did they open up more flights? And this is via Breaking Points and Crystal and Sagar, which they had a great analysis on this. They opened up more flights into Reagan without increasing the number of people that are overseeing the skies, because people in Washington wanted to have more direct flights and go right into Reagan and do their job. So people from California can fly more direct. And so they opened up more flights without creating more agents to oversee what was going on in air traffic control. I have a massive update for you. I'm sure by this point, you've heard about the Blessed God Summit happening March 27th, 28th, 29th here in beautiful Carlsbad, California. But we've heard your requests. We've conceded to your demand. There are virtual tickets that are now available for the Blessed God Summit, so you can access it from anywhere in the world, as well as access to the replays. And for those of you guys that are looking for something extra, we're also offering a virtual ticket and an exclusive Bless God Summit merch bundle. There's some amazing art and some exclusive pieces done by our friend Josh Nadeau from Sword and Pencil that you have to check out. So join us online for the virtual event and experience some sessions from my favorite podcasters, pastors, and performers. We have a stacked lineup. I'm talking about Preston Perry, Dr. Sean McDowell, Inspiring Philosophy. What do you mean? Lila Rose, Alan Parr, and his wife Jen Parr. We even have Nate Sala from Wise Disciple, Gavin Ortland, David Wood, Avery from God Logic Apologetics. And on the pastoral side, we have my friend Daniel Golding, Pastor Ed Newton from CBC in San Antonio, and
my personal pastor from Rhythm Church, Pastor Jeff Moores and his wife, Erin Moores. You won't want to miss out from amazing performances from America's Got Talent winner Dustin Savella, Billboard charting hip-hop artist John Keith, and Miles Minnick. And we're still finalizing a few more speakers. So head over to blessgod.shop, get your virtual ticket now, and you can get yourself a bundle with some of the exclusive merch as well. I'll see you over there, all right? Peace.
Okay, so all around, this seems like a mess of a situation, and at the unfortunate expense of people passing away, 60 people passing away. And again, and it hits home for me because I've flown into that airport before, actually around the similar time, less than a year ago. I've flown into that airport back in October when I went to hang out with Nick D, and I just flew into DC last Thursday, into Dulles, which is a little further outside. And so you have allegedly DEI, quote unquote, training bad operators. You have deregulation on these types of positions in terms of more flights coming in without more air traffic control. And then you have more flights being pushed so that politicians in Washington can get easy access and have more direct flights from their states so they can get in and out. So who's to blame? I don't know who's to blame. I don't know who's at fault in this situation. I don't know where does the buck stop. I would say that it's probably a combination of all the above. Probably some people that are doing air traffic control that maybe they're being overworked. Are they really underqualified? I don't know. I don't know if they're intentionally putting people with air traffic control overseeing the skies who are disabled. That sounds crazy, right? But I just couldn't see that. And this stuff's not supposed to happen, and it doesn't happen generally in American skies. So who's to blame? It's probably a combination of variables. It's one of the most busiest strips of air and airlines. It's also why is the military running experiments so close to that airport? That doesn't make no sense to me. And again, I'm not the biggest advocate for regulation, but goodness, is there some things that need to be regulated? And I don't know if we could draw a through line to folks on the right and their policies, but this is one of those aspects that we absolutely need not just our skies regulated and the people who are landing, but we need our airplanes regulated. The stuff that's been coming out of the Boeing and the Airbus situation and the seeming under regulation in those aspects and in pushing planes through that have windows blowing off and all this sort of crazy stuff. And so it seems like it's a combination of all the above. Why is the military flying so close to one of the most busiest airspaces in the country? Again, right in the middle of Washington, D.C., right on the other side of the Pentagon and all these landmarks. What is the military doing running choppers this late at night? Why is there not more crisp and clear communication? Hey, there's a regional jet. It's coming in from your left. Look out for it versus, the regional jet that's taking off from your right and being vague. And why would there be any desire? And if this is on Trump, again, I don't know if there's a through line, but if this is on Trump, why would they want to cut stuff like the aviation control and the people who are not, making sure our skies are, that makes absolutely no sense to me. This is insanity that they would want to cut this aspect. I understand that there's a lot of bureaucracy and there's a lot of people who are working for the federal government that may not be as efficient in their way, working remotely, and they need to be back in the office. I'm not mad at that. If you want to bring people back into the office or whatever, by all means, do that. But let's not deregulate industries like the daggone air skies and the airline industry. Now, in terms of this airline disability thing, let me look this up. FAA employees with disabilities targeted by Trump's anti-DEI push. So again, he comes out right away saying it's the DEI and it's people with disabilities. I don't think people with disabilities are running air traffic control. I don't think that's what was happening. That's what I was referencing with regards to that earlier. It's a tragedy. It's scary for me as someone that flies a lot. It's terrible. It's terrible, and I think all around, this is something that this area absolutely needs to be regulated and needs to be controlled. And I hope that they get some answers from the situation because there's already, with all the Boeing and all the Airbus stuff, it's been sketchy flying. Now you got over one of our busiest, airports, this sort of stuff happening is just insane. I don't know. I don't know how this could be happening. It's terrible, the amount of folks that passed in this situation, and that there's no survivors, no survivors. What regulation does it need that isn't already in place? That's a great question, Aaron. It's not that there's regulations that are not in place. It's the cutting back of proper bodies being on hand. So you can't increase the number of flights into the busiest airport or one of the busiest airports in the country, and then without increasing the number of people who are watching the skies. Does that make sense? So it's not so much we're deregulating and we're making it easier. Now, there does seem to be, again, I am not an expert on this, caveat that again, there does seem to be some weird stuff happening with Airbus and the folks that are manufacturing these planes, the whistleblowers. You guys have seen this stuff. This stuff has been going on for years with regards to what's happening with Boeing and Airbus, and the people coming out and saying they're not practicing all the safeties. That's what I'm talking about, needs to be regulated, okay? And yes, our skies absolutely need to be regulated, right? It absolutely need to be regulated. So you can't be anti-defund the police while at the same time saying we need to have more flights coming into Reagan and not have more people running the skies. That's what I'm talking about. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. But there does seem to be some articles regarding people deregulating and cutting back these folks who are so essential to keeping the skies clear and keeping everybody safe. That's what I'm talking about. And again, I don't know if you can draw a through line. So I'm saying openly, I don't know if you can draw this through line. I don't know if you can make these connections. But this is one of those areas that we should not be deregulating. We should not be cutting back. We should not be budget cuts, so on and so forth.
Hey, thank you so much for checking out the video. Please be sure to comment below and subscribe and all that good stuff. And check out this other video that YouTube seems to be recommending just for you. Let me know if they nailed it. All right, I'll see you over there. Peace.